So there's a knock on the pearly gates, and St. Peter gets his paperwork together, and he goes out, and he's just about getting ready to interview this man, and all of a sudden this man just disappears. So St. Peter goes back in, and a few minutes later, here's a knock, and he looks out, and it's this man, so he goes back out there, and just as he gets out there, the man disappears again. So he goes back in, and just as he gets back in, he hears the knock, and he looks out, and it's the same man. So St. Peter goes out there, and he's like, "What are you doing? Are you playing with me here or what?" And the man looked at him, and he said, "No, the doctors are trying to resuscitate me." Okay, so tomorrow is Memorial Day, and this actually started as a day that we do take time to remember those who have given their lives in service to our country and service to our freedoms, and again to our civil liberties. And I think it's a day that is so important for us to celebrate. And how many of us here have had somebody in our life who served in the war that lost their lives? Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. And how many of us here have somebody we know or yourself that served in, yeah. Like, oh, yeah, pretty much all of us. And so I think it is. I love Cindy started this thing to, thank a veteran. And because, we're glad that you're here. But you did put yourself in that place where you may not have been here fighting for our freedom. So thank you to each and every one of you who have been part of I know, just giving me my freedom to be able to be a female up here speaking freely and to all of us. So thank you so much. And we also know that today has grown to encompass a day that we stop and we remember all of our loved ones who have made their transition. And I was thinking this morning, as I was kind of going over my talk, and I was thinking that their transition into the greater realm, and the reality is that we are already in the greater realm. It's just that they have left their body aside to continue on in this that we call eternity. And, I don't like to say we're not in the greater realm right now, because you know what? Wherever we are, God is. And so we are in the greater realm at this very moment. They're just experiencing, I believe, much more freedom than our physical bodies. So the first thing I wanted to talk about today as we're looking at this idea of Memorial Day and death is I want to talk to you first about some practical things. We teach practical application of spiritual principles, and we just teach practical application, period. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do is I want to encourage you to talk to your family about your desires. And I know sometimes it's very hard. Many times our family members don't want us to talk about the possibility of us dying. But in the long run, they'll be grateful that you did. Let them know what your desires are. Let them know where your paperwork is. Make a will if you do not have a will. Get your affairs in order. It does not matter how old you are. Get your affairs in order, and do that for the people that will be taking care of things after you leave this physical body. I was so grateful that when Sean passed, he had everything in order, because I cannot imagine having gone through the pain of that and then having to try and figure everything out. It was a gift that I will be forever grateful for. And I immediately went to work, and everything is in order. My kids know exactly what I want, and they know where everything is. That is a gift that you give those that love you. It's very, very important. I also want to talk here for a minute about the importance of grief when you do go through the loss of a loved one. As most of you know, my beloved husband Sean and our beloved family member here made his transition last year, and that grief process was something I didn't anticipate. I had no idea what it looked like, what it felt like. And what I finally got was that I had to surrender to the grief itself, that I had no control over it. And I couldn't pray my way out of it. I couldn't affirm my way out of it. I couldn't even pray at that point. I couldn't feel a connection with my source at that point because I was so ripped open. And I thought about how, if we have open heart surgery, I'm sorry, but we're not going to pray or affirm ourselves to wake up from that surgery and get up and just go be okay. There's a natural healing process to the body, and that natural healing process hurts. And it's the same with our emotions. There's a natural healing process when your heart has been ripped open like that, and it hurts. But you have to surrender to it and allow yourself to feel the grief, whatever that is, whether it's, whatever we're experiencing that is an aspect of death. So that's the practical application here today. And what we do know is that life is in a constant state of change, and the ultimate change that we experience is death. That's the ultimate change that we experience. The number one fear that people have is the fear of death. And so I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about what Unity believes about various aspects of death and dying and life after, and ultimately move us into living our lives fully right now. As we know in Ecclesiastes 3:18, it says, "To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted." 1 Corinthians 15:26 says, "The last enemy to be destroyed is death." Now, I am a firm believer that our understanding and our relationship with the God of, and I'm going to use the word again, of our understanding is the basis of our relationship with death. If we believe that God is a punishing God and that there is a heaven and hell beyond this place, death can be a pretty scary thought. But I believe that God is love, and I have no fear at all of the great beyond. I know in my whole being that it's going to be an awesome, amazing experience of the purity of love. If we believe that there is no life beyond, and I know a lot of people believe that there's nothing, that this is it, bam, we're just gone. Life, that can feel a little dark to me, but my belief is that we are eternal and we're in eternality right now, and that we do go on. And so it's our relationship and our understanding of God and our understanding of what is beyond that creates our relationship with this idea of death. And I'm just grateful that, having been in Unity, that my whole concept and experience of death is so different than it was many years ago. And I'll tell you what, it certainly was the main thing that helped me through this last year, was recognizing that He's great. He's good, He's free, it's awesome, wonderful. That gave me so much peace to know that, and I know it'll be the same for us as well. So what does Unity teach about death? Is there life truly beyond this physical realm? And I always use in my celebration of life services that in the original Aramaic language of Jesus, the word death literally means not here, present elsewhere. I love that. Not here, present elsewhere. The late Reverend Eric Butterworth says, "There is that of you that is more than your body, and the you that transcends the body, the eternal, ever-living soul of you, has woven the body temple, and it's the sustaining influence of it. But if the body becomes unfit for further service and is laid aside in the process that we call death, this is in no way the end of you. The you that is more than your body moves on to be clothed anew according to God's purpose." And the important thing to remember here is that we are an eternal expression of God. We always have been, we always will be. We can't explain that from our human perspective, but in Unity we believe that we are eternal, and we are living that eternity right now. There's not something that we're attaining to die so that we can live eternally. We are in eternity at this very moment. Death is not an end, and I think this is incredibly important for us to know. Death is not a failure. And we talked about this in class yesterday, that sometimes we have this idea, if we have an illness in our body, and we think, I have enough faith to heal my body, and then the body doesn't heal, then we can think that we didn't have faith enough. Or I've even heard people say, if they only had more faith. And we make it about, oh my gosh, they died. What a failure. And we may not think that consciously, but that's kind of been the consciousness. And I want to say right here, right now, death is not a failure, and death is not an end. And there's so much more that we can't possibly understand to recognize that that was being used for something greater for that person and for the people around us. And if you will, it was their time to just shed this physical body. And I just want us to get that so we never beat ourselves up that, when we're ready to make that transition, that we've done something wrong or we haven't had enough faith. Because that, for me, is absolutely not true. So let's look at this idea of life beyond. I was listening to a fellow minister the other day, and he was saying that this whole idea of having somebody on life support, he said really it should be body support, because our life is so much more than that physical body. And I just love that visual. I just love that thought that, wow, that's so true. It's body support, but it's not actual life support. There was a minister that shared that a congregant of his was telling him about his own death, that he had died for over 2.5 minutes when he was crushed by a dump truck. And that during that time, he could see his friends attempting to revive his body and transport him to a doctor. But here's what he said. He said he felt like a drop merging together with an ocean of love. And, in everything that I've read, and I'll tell you that after Sean died, I craved understanding what was beyond here. I craved it, and so I read book after book after book after book. And whether it was a book that had to do with people having near-death experiences, or whether it was a book of people who were communicating with those who were on the other side, the answer was consistent in that their experience was one of this beyond describable experience of love that we've just touched with the love that we feel here. And he said that he never once did it feel like he did not exist. And I love that. He simply went from being on this earth plane to being saturated in a feeling of love. And this was well over 25 years ago, and to this day, he just still has this peace and serenity in his whole being. They said that is contagious to others because he knows he experienced it firsthand. I would prefer not to experience it firsthand, so I'm just going to be in the joy of his experience and know that that is true. I've got to share this with you. This was something new that somebody presented to me, and I've only gotten to use it in a couple of my celebration of life services. But I think this is such a great analogy of what do we believe about when we pass from this body. So in a mother's womb were two babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" The other replies, "Why, of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what we will be later." "Nonsense," says the other. "There's no life after delivery. What would that life be?" "Well, I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs and eat from our mouths." The other says, "That's absurd. Walking is impossible, and eat with our mouths, ridiculous. The umbilical cord supplies nutrition. Life after delivery is to be excluded. The umbilical cord is too short." The other says, "Well, I think there is something, and maybe it's different than it is here." The other says, "No one has ever come back from there." Delivery is the end of life. And in the after delivery, there is nothing but darkness and anxiety, and it takes us nowhere. "Well, I don't know," says the other, "but certainly we will see Mother, and she will take care of us." "Mother? You believe in a mother? Where is she now?" To which the other replies, "She's all around us. It is in her that we live. Without her, we would not be here in this world." "Well, I don't see her, so it's only logical that she doesn't exist." To which the other replied, "Sometimes, when you're in the silence, you can hear her and you can perceive her. I believe that there is reality after delivery and that we are here to prepare ourselves for that reality." Isn't that great? Yeah, I love that. I've often thought about how similar, the birthing of a baby is to me, the birthing of someone into into just out of this body. And I thought how, when a baby is being birthed, there are people on this side, and we're saying, come to the light, come into the light, and come into this amazing experience of love. And I sincerely believe it's the same when somebody moves out of this body, that there are beings, in a sense, that are just saying, it's okay, come. And it's, again, the most amazing experience of love. So death isn't an end, because at the end there's always a new beginning. So there is definitely something beyond. That's what we believe. How about communication from the other side? Now, this is an interesting one. And again, in books that I've read, I've read a number of books that have been about a mother and a son, and the son died, and the son is giving the mom information about the other side. The Afterlife of Billy Fingers is the brother is giving information to his sister. And there's books after book after book where people have had experience with those from the other side. And so December of this year, I was gifted an hour session with a medium. Now, I've never had a session with a medium, and I'm going to admit I was very skeptical going into this. And yet there was a part of me that was excited, because I miss him, and I wanted to feel him. And so, part of my skepticism is there's so much out there now. There's stuff on Facebook, you can look stuff up, and I have stuff on there about my life. So, and Sean's son Keegan was there with me as well. And I am just going to tell you that it was one of the most amazing experiences that I have had. And there were things that I was told that nobody else could have possibly known. One was she would say things, and she would say, that's his way of saying that he is with you. And he would be saying things. So one of the things she said, he's saying something about that you went to the pharmacy today to pick up a prescription, and it was like something you had to do today. And I was blown away, because I had to go to the pharmacy that morning because the medication was going to go back on the shelf, and I went and I did that exact thing. Nobody knew I did that. And I was like, oh, and she said, that's his way of saying that he is with you. And he shared something in that session that was about somebody else in my life that, again, there's no way she could have known it, and it was spot on. And there were things that were said over and over and over again that it was like, at the end of it, I couldn't doubt it. I could not doubt that was him. And in fact, my dad came through as well. And one of the things that really blew me away was she said, he's saying something about an Edward or a Donald. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my brother is Donald. His brother Donald, my dad's brother Donald, is on the other side. He died in the war. And so they named my brother Donald after my dad's brother. Really? How many names can you just pick out of thin air and it's going to be one of those names? But it was thing after thing after thing after thing. Also communication from the other side in the way of smells, things that sometimes it's something that you're nudged to do, that you may be nudged to open up a drawer and there's something that brings a great memory to you. You feel their presence, and I doubted that so much. I would doubt every time, until one day I read something on Facebook, and it had a list of 10 ways that they communicate, and I had experienced 7 of those 10 ways, and I was like, it is real, because one here and there, it's like, really, was that really it? But yes, so there is communication from the other side. And how many of us here feel that we have had that communication? Wow, that's awesome. Yes, and I believe 100% that it's real. So let's talk about this for a moment. What about reincarnation? Unity is strong on their belief about reincarnation, and that we do come back. And you'll be able to find books that Unity writers have written over the years. Again, Reverend Eric Butterworth says, in the flowing experience of life, change is a constant reality. In every change, we see evidence of the process of death and rebirth. And Paul says, I die daily. And so in our physical lives, we see this process of life, death, rebirth, life, death, rebirth. And, we see it in nature all around us, but we've also been able to experience in our own lives because of the transitions that we've gone through. Transitions of like going from home to school, from adolescent to teenager to young adult. How about the deaths of relationships or of jobs or, there's so many different things that we have this death thing that comes up for us there. But I can tell you for myself anyway, that many of these changes, these death-like changes, were very, very scary and look very scary and were not easy to go through. But what I can also tell you 100% is that those deaths have always led to a resurrection of some sort. And I'm going to tell you today that even the hardest one that I experienced, and that is the death of my husband, that I had an epiphany just a couple weeks ago. And that was that when Sean left his life and he gave freedom to his physical body, he also freed me of the pain of the experience of the continuing problem of the act of alcoholism. And there was a huge moment for me, and I was in such gratitude to him because physically I feel like a different person today than I did for years. And I know it was because I was taking that, I was owning that pain and taking that pain in. And that is a true resurrection for me. And I sincerely today can be in the joy of that. And, doesn't mean, I miss my husband still every day. I love him as much as I ever did, but I truly have a joy and a gratitude for that. So, reincarnation, just the resurrection. And I'm going to use this too, that I was, jury was out for me. I'm just open. I don't know what I believe about reincarnation. And then I met Sean. And that very first night, it was like that night we knew we loved each other. It was like we loved each other, and that never changed. And we talked about there had to be something before this because that was so connected and immediate, and we knew so much about each other. And there, of course, there's evidences of people, there's things out now about kids that have been able to talk about a previous life, and they've been able to go back and check that life out and know that that was really true. And it's a child that has no way of looking something up, on the internet or something. So it's just something to be open to. So the last thing that I want to talk about is how do we overcome death? And the way we overcome that, my friends, is to place our emphasis fully upon life, is to live our lives. I don't remember the author of this particular thing, but she was sharing that in the movie Saving Private Ryan, that it's a 1988 film, and it follows a World War II Normandy invasion company commander and his special squad who were sent to locate and bring home a soldier whose 3 brothers had all died. And had been killed in action. And so there's a squad of 8, and they're led by Captain Miller, who was Tom Hanks, and 6 of them were killed during this mission, including the captain. So Captain Miller's dying words to Private Ryan were these. He said, "James, earn this, earn it." So the final scene of the film shows Private Ryan addressing Captain Miller's grave, and here's what he says. "My family is with me today. They wanted to come with me. To be honest with you, I wasn't sure how I'd feel coming back here. Every day, I think about what you said to me that day on the bridge. I tried to live my life the best that I could, and I hope that was enough. I hope that at least in your eyes, I've earned what all of you have done for me." And so she goes on to say, "My suggestion today is that the Memorial Day, we remember those who have sacrificed their lives so that we may live ours. So try to live your life the best you can and earn what our soldiers have done for us." And I think especially as we look at that this weekend is about Memorial Day, and it is about, really recognizing and honoring those. Think, wow, what greater gift could we give? What greater recognition and what greater appreciation could we give than to live our lives the best that we can live them, to stand for something, to stand for the integrity of who we have come here to be, and live our lives the way that we know we are intended to live our lives. So, for some of us, that's going to be live full out, woohoo! But that's not the way it is for all of us. To live our lives is to live in integrity with our soul, to live in integrity with who we know that we are, and to stand in that and be that expression, and not fall back from it, but to stand in that knowing and be the most beautiful expression of God that you have come here to be. That's the gift that we give them today. That's the gratitude that we give them today. So again, thank you to all of you who we know are here with us right now, who did give their lives in service to us. We are grateful, and we say thank you. Thank you, thank you. And so it is. And namaste, namaste, namaste.